In the last week, we've got a ton of parts for the Yamaha Blaster. That progressed way quicker than I thought it would. We're actually ready to build that thing. The powder coat came in from Bonehead Performance. That's all done, as well as the zinc coating from Moto Blast. All the cases are vapor blasted and stuff like that. I'm going to show you guys all those parts. They came out amazing. I can't wait to show you guys. But I do want to get some work done with you guys as well. This is all going to be on the Yamaha Blaster. So let's just jump right into it, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So I've been pretty busy behind the scenes doing all of my pre-build stuff, so basically putting in bearings and things like that, just getting ready to assemble the machine. So I have some stuff laid out here. This is all pre-build things that I do. We've got our Kickstarter right here. I'm really excited to see what this looks like when it goes together, because we've got this yellow zinc and then the mini texture black, I think, going together. That's going to look really good. We've got our brand new, oh wait, that's not brand new. This is the old master cylinder for the front. This is vapor blasted by Moto Blast. We've got some of the old components in there that we still need. I've got a brand new sight glass, our cap. We've got a rebuild kit from Boss Bearing and a new lever from Clutch, or Tusk rather. So we'll be assembling that. That should look brand spanking new when it's done. In here, I've got our shock. This is freshly powder coated from Bonehead Performance. I've already restored the original shock shaft. It looks pretty good. There's a little bit of rust still down there that I couldn't quite get, but it looks pretty damn good for the most part. I've got a new spring tool here that a compression tool. I'm excited to show you guys that, to assemble that spring, put that on there. Then we've got our intake boot here, and this is the intake boot, I guess you would call it like air filter cage, and it's got a nice crack in it, right there, and it kind of like pulls up, and it's got a crack there too. That one's not really an issue, but we do need to fix that. I've made a bracket for that. We'll be assembling that in a moment. And then I've got our clutch basket. This has got some grooves in it. So I got a billet basket here because we're going to be making some serious horsepower. And I figured it was a good time to put a billet basket on here, and I did want to test out one of these kind of no-name brand billet baskets. I've had good success with them in the past. All right, let's get started off with something easy here. You know what I always say, it's always a good idea to start off with something easy so that you can make some progress, because if you don't make progress early on, you know, you can end up in a depressive state and things can get really bad. So anyways, I got the kicker here, and I got them coated in two different things, different pieces anyways. So this is the actual kicker itself, and it is coated in mini texture black. This is one of my favorite colors, or I guess like coatings, you would call it, from Bonehead Performance, because it has this little bit of texture to it. So for a kicker, it's nice. Your boot usually doesn't slip off of this. Not as easy anyways. And it's very, very durable. So it's a great coating for this. And then I had the knuckle coated with zinc coating. It's yellow zinc from Moto Blast, and this is a great finish, but it's not quite as durable as the mini texture. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of have like the contrast of colors. And then we got our spring, our little ball, and a new O-ring. Very easy to put together. A lot of times, especially with like a Banshee, you've got like the jingling kicker. It's a really iconic sound that you hear on Yamaha Banshees a lot. Probably happens on the Blaster too. This one, I don't think this one was jingling. It's just a good idea to rebuild it. Just putting a little bit of grease around this, just a thin layer. Keep everything nice and lubed up. Make sure we got, not packed in here, but make sure there's grease in there. We've got our little spring. That goes in there. And they do have kicker rebuild kits. I'll link one in the description below. I got a brand new O-ring here. I actually messed up. The O-ring should probably go on first, because this is going to probably strip the grease right off of this thing when we slide it down here. That's okay. Just put a little bit more grease on here. Now we'll make sure we got a little bit more grease in with our spring, and then we have our ball. We'll go on top. That grease is going to hold the ball in place. And we've got our kicker. You want to make sure, if you had this coated, that there's nothing inside. It should be bare, and this will just clip in place. And we've got a retaining screw. This is the OEM one. I had this zinc coated by Moto Blast. Just putting a little bit of blue Loctite on there. And then I'm going to tighten this down with our JIS screwdriver. All right. Looks pretty sick, man, with those I'm a big fan of different color tones, two-tones. Got that nice click. That should function really nice, and there's no rattle at all. Very, very tight. Nice looking unit. Also what she said. So now we'll move on to the shock absorber. We've got the old shock here. These things were really cruddy to begin with. I'll show before and afters once we put this spring on, but it came out really, really nice. I was unable to remove these. I'm not sure if you can do that without removing the piston or the shaft. It just wouldn't slip over this, but I managed to paint them in place, basically mask the whole thing off and put these here. And I was able to scuff them and throw a coating on them. So it came out pretty nice. And then this piece that came off is sent to Moto Blast. So it's basically like brand new. We got some yellow zinc on there. Then I got a hoagie. This is for lunch. Just kidding, this is the spring, guys. This is how it comes from when I pick my stuff up at Bonehead Performance. They usually have everything wrapped up really nice. So this is the original spring. The shocks were in good shape. They were just really dirty. And the springs had some wear on them because the person before had shock wears on, which shock wears are great, but they do tend to rub away the outside surface. This is the color that I chose. I didn't want it to look like OEM because I think there were some OEM years of the Blaster where they had white springs, but I actually wanted these to be white. It goes with the color scheme. You can see, beautiful, beautiful job by Bonehead Performance. We want to make sure that we've got the small coils at the top. So we'll go in this direction. And what we're going to have to do is compress the spring. And that's what I've got this tool right here for. This is a brand new tool. I'm actually like really excited about this. And it's interesting because it had pretty bad reviews on Amazon, people saying that that it was junk. But I did the other spring already, and I mean, it worked great. Maybe they're using it on springs that are too big or something, and these are really just made for like smaller light-duty springs. And you can see it's like a screw-style jack, and it just brings these two hooks together. Very, very simple design. You got one you put on one side, one for the other side, and then it has these little pieces of, I guess this is just hose with a slit down the middle, and you put this, you wrap it around parts of the spring, and that just protects the spring from chipping when you put the tool on there. And it works quite nicely for a small shock like this, and I think you could, we'll find out with the rear shock. I'll do that one on my own because the one piece that I was telling you guys I don't have is the bumper for the rear shock is in the mail, and I do need to replace the bumper on the rear shock. It was totally thrashed. A couple things to note before you put this on, make sure you lubricate the threaded shaft in there, and then we'll just place these two hooks right where those rubber protectors are. And I like putting these, I wanted to put this so that, you know, the bolt portion that you turn is at the bottom, so it's easy to get a wrench on there. If it's up here, you know, you're kind of bumping into the spring and stuff, you risk damaging it. So it fits down here nicely on this Blaster spring. And we will put these about equal distance for these springs. Like, you don't want to have one side, you know, squeezing here and the other side squeezing wide out here, you know, like this. You want it nice and even. Other thing is, make sure that these are opposite sides of each other. Tighten them up with your fingers as much as they go. It's amazing, you can actually get this to move a little bit just by hand. Then I kind of just bring this to the end of the bench, get a 17mm socket. You could use an electric tool. I just found that it was more controllable doing it this way. And just crank down each side and keep going back and forth. You don't want to go too far on one side. We're just going to bring this in, and the whole time it is compressing the spring. These things, I mean, I'm telling you, this is a super easy tool to use. Like I was saying before, it had some bad reviews on Amazon where I got this thing. And I will have this linked in the description below because I think this is a good tool. And all I can think is one of two things, is that they're like regular DIY people that, which technically that's kind of what I am. I could say just like a little bit more advanced, but you know, like people that don't typically use tools, I guess. And they either weren't using it right, or maybe they were using it, like I said, like on automotive springs or something like a UTV, like a huge side-by-side. It's not, I would say probably not the best idea for those. But for smaller shocks, sport quads, good to go. I think this is a great tool to have. The way I got them off was really sketchy. And this is like a lifesaver in comparison. And it was only like 30 bucks, so. All right, there's our compressed spring. Take our shaft here. This will slide in place. Not quite, we got to tighten it down just a little bit more. All right, there we go. Now we can release these things. Again, bringing it to the edge of the bench just makes it easier to get the wrench on there. And as you're releasing this, just make sure that retainer stays where you want it. And just like when we were putting it on, we'll go back and forth and equally release the pressure. Boom. Super easy, no chips on the springs or anything. And we basically have a brand new shock here. All right, now we've got our boot retainer for the Airbox. I don't know if you recall when I took this off, I either cracked it or it already was cracked. And you can see the split, it's right there. And what it's doing is it's pulling this whole thing forward. So it should actually be flat. Now I was going to replace this piece, just order a new one, but it's no longer available. So I made a fix. I cut this little piece out of just bar stock. And the middle, I've got an empty hole in case that bolt comes through there. It can continue to, follow through. And then I've got 2 holes here that I threaded. And then I drilled 2 holes in the unit itself. What we're going to do is put this on the back. And when we thread bolts in the front, that should pull it nice and flat. And that'll give it good structure. I mean, this is overkill. This is steel. And it should never break after that. All right, so to get this in place, I'm going to thread in the air filter bolt until it comes out the back. Now I'll put our plate in place. This washer and nut will hold it in place and pull the plastic piece straight. And you'll see, as I tighten this down, it should straighten out. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be pissed. All right, there it is. You can see, nice and flat now, and that shouldn't break. Now, obviously we can't have this here. So, let's line these holes up. And I'm going to put these bolts in here and put a little bit of red Loctite on here because this should be permanent. I don't ever plan on taking this off. And then I've got some wide washers. I did have to shave a little section off of the one side so that it fits. And these should thread in place, no problem. It's stuff like this, on discontinued parts and, stuff that you can't get anymore. We got to get a little bit creative and fix what you've got. Plastic can be difficult, especially even if you could plastic weld. I feel like it's never quite as strong as original. But this steel brace should permanently fix this, and it'll be stronger than it ever was. Now with hopes, this will stay nice and rigid once we remove this little, basically clamp that we put on here to get it in place. I think it will though. That's a good fix, man. All right, and while I've got you guys here, we might as well install that boot. It hooks up directly to the rear plastics. You see I got this new seat cover on here. It's actually, the whole unit is new. I replaced the seat pan and everything. The old pan was just trash. The seat cover really came out nice. Real quick, before we attach that boot up, I think I'll trim this burn mark from the exhaust. Just take a little cutoff wheel here. These things are great for cutting plastic. And I will just zoop, zoop, cut it right out. Probably if I flip this, a little easier. Now I'm going to come in with this little flapper disc. These things work great for cleaning up the edges, and it kind of gives it like the OEM contour. Just got to take your time with it. And then usually you can just come in with your fingernail and peel the little excess off. Usually anyways. And that leaves a really nice, not sharp, but like clean edge. All right, let's get this boot in here and get this rear fender squared away. Just kind of pulls through like that. And then our bracket goes on the other side. There is a thing that says up. So that's actually going to be facing down since our fender is upside down. Slide that in here and it should line up. And then we've got this basically big retaining washer plate thing. Had that recoated by Moto Blast. There we go. And then there's just 6 locking nuts that go on here. The ones on this side are a little difficult to get to, but basically we'll just tighten them down and this is ready to go. All right, now let's move into something a little bit more interesting. We've got our clutch basket. The fingers are not terribly worn, but they are worn, and that will result in an unsmooth clutch, sometimes like a notchy clutch feel. So you can smooth those out and reuse the basket, but these billet aftermarket baskets are getting, they're so cheap that it's almost not worth spending the time to clean up an original basket. So I have this billet one here. You can see it comes with new bumpers. I'm not sure what these little black ones are here. Maybe when we pull apart the basket, we'll figure that out. And then here's the billet basket here. And I mean, this looks like a nice basket. I mean, it's a piece of billet. It's kind of hard to mess up unless this is like a low quality aluminum. But I have a feeling that this is pretty decent. So we'll take off this backing plate with these 3 bolts, and we'll get this in place. So first thing we have to do though is get the old basket off. Now I'm gonna try to do this right here in front of you guys with the most simplest of tools to kind of show that anybody can do this, because if you haven't done this before, it can be kind of a scary task. To get the old basket off, we need to remove these 3 rivets. You can grind them off. I've done that before. I think that's a little bit more difficult. I think the easiest way is to drill them out. So I've got a little center punch here. Come on, you bastard. No, that was a fail. Kind of get at least close to the center here. And this will stop our bit from walking. Now we're just gonna take a regular drill and some drill bits. We'll start with a small bit. And I'm gonna take some 3-in-1 oil. You can use cutting oil too, but like I said, I'm trying to use the most simple handheld things. This is just gonna help lubricate the bit, and it gives you better bit life. And you don't have to go all the way through. You really only have to get through the head of the rivet. And basically we're just gonna bring it up until we take the head of that rivet off. Okay, that one's done. You can see I took the head of that rivet right off. Now I'll do the same thing with these other 2. All right, here's what we're left with. You can see these 2 didn't come out quite as nice. There's a little bit of little remnants around the outside. We're gonna see. I think we'll probably still be able to pry that off, no problem. If not, we'll come back in and shave it down, but we'll give it a shot. And I'm using a regular, just big flathead screwdriver, another household item. We're gonna go under here and just give it a little pry. Not too heavy, but there you go. If it's like crazy hard, stop, because you don't want to damage your gear. But it's usually not that bad. Don't worry about bending your plate, because you can see it just broke it. The little bit of debris that was on there just kind of broke off. But you don't have to worry about bending this plate, because the new billet clutch usually comes with a new plate anyways. Dude, total sidetrack. This is going to make an excellent exhaust tip for the Lakota. I'm not even joking. I've been planning on making like a turn down and maybe a smaller pipe, because this thing is supposedly extremely loud. Like, what are the odds? I'll just shave that down a little bit. It's already got the 3 holes in there. Perfect, man. Now here's what we're left with. You can see that's where those tiny little bumpers go. And then we've got the 6 big bumpers there. So all you gotta do is pull your primary drive gear off. We're not gonna be reusing these bumpers because it came with new ones. As far as this basket goes, this is done. We're not gonna be reusing it. We're definitely not reusing that. Before we work with this gear, I'm gonna wash it up and then we'll put the new basket on. All right, the hard part is over. Let's go ahead and install our new stuff. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that this piece of paper stays in place. So let's go ahead and drop our primary drive gear in. Sometimes this inner portion right here, it's supposed to pop in place here. Sometimes on these aftermarket baskets, the Chinese ones, they don't fit. Let's see how this one does. Oh, this one fits nice. This is a good one. That's great fitment. That's what she said. Now we're gonna put the new bumpers in. I'm not 100% sure what the reason is, but you can see there are two different style bumpers here. You've got the like D-shaped ones and then the circle ones. There's 4 D-shaped ones, and the D-shaped ones will populate 2 of these kind of bean-shaped things, and then the other one will have circles in it. I'm not sure why that is, but I wanna keep it OEM, so we're gonna put a little bit of our transmission oil on all these. It's just good to pre-lubricate them, because you're going to be putting this in dry. And then we'll just populate all these with the flat portions facing towards where the threads are. And then we've got these little tiny bumpers. I don't think these go in any particular way. Just putting a little bit of lubricant on them, pop them in place. And as we're doing this, you want to make sure you're not getting any oil in your threaded holes here, because we're going to be using a high temperature Loctite there. And the oil will kind of negate the Loctite, so just keep those nice and clean. All right, plate goes on top. Make sure it's sitting nice and flush. And I'm going to be using Loctite 272. You can see it's a high temperature and high strength. Don't be afraid to use a good bit of this on here. You do not want these backing out. I'm going to run these in, and then I'm going to torque them. Now, like I was saying, I was trying to use the most basic tools possible. If you don't have a torque wrench, just make them good and snug. Don't use an impact on them. I wouldn't anyways, but just make them good and snug. But I'm gonna torque these to 14.5 foot-pounds. Last thing we'll do is flip this over. We're gonna do what's called peening on the ends of these bolts. Now, if we go ahead and strike this, there's really nothing supporting that side of the basket. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 blocks of wood under here. And now we've got a nice backing. Take a regular old punch, regular hammer. And we're going to come in here right on the edge of the back of that bolt and just give it a good tap. Well, a little more than the tap, but you get the idea. Right here on the edge. And what that does is it kind of deforms the end of this bolt, and it just makes it that less likely that it's going to back out. And we've got some more goodies in this box right here. Another from Jin Fan Fanibi. Same brand as the basket. Got a freaking sweet ass gasket. Probably never use that. Chinese gaskets, waste of my time. But this could be good. I hope it's good. How the hell do we open this? It's like got the peel pack here, man. I feel like I'm opening a snack. New inner hub and pressure plate. I mean, they seem pretty nice. I don't know if those are the OEM markings, like just total copy. But it was really, really cheap. This whole setup together, I forget exactly. I think this was $50 for the pack, and then this was $80. So, you know, for 130 bucks, have a nice clutch pack. Hopefully this will be a good material, and we'll have good material on the billet basket. And now we have a brand new clutch setup. We should be good to go. The one that was in there was, it was about ready to explode. Billet basket is done. Let's move on to that front master cylinder. Man, we've got this super clean front master cylinder. Just have a look at that. This is the original one that we got on the blaster. Sent this to Moto Blast, and it is basically brand new. Vapor blasting is great because it doesn't leave the metal as porous as if it was sandblasted. So this finish should stay probably for a pretty long time. I usually, when I have cases vapor blasted, they stay nice for quite a while. Here is the cover. It just comes out so nice. I've got like a fetish for this stuff, man. Like little intricate parts and stuff. This is like adult Legos. So let's go ahead and put this thing together. We have the all balls, or boss bearing, I think is the kit that I got. Rebuild kit. It doesn't come with this bladder. I guess like corkscrew thing. I'm actually not sure what this piece is called. And I think that's it. It comes with all the other pieces if I remember correctly. It's not going to come with, this is an internal piece that it really doesn't need to come out, but I pulled out for cleaning. And then of course we've got our sight glass. This is a brand new sight glass we're going to be popping in there. And pretty excited to see what this thing is going to look like when it's all done. We've got the original banjo bolt as well. This was vapor blasted and then coated in yellow zinc by Moto Blast. So let's hop to it. All right, let's first get on these O-rings. I hate putting these things on. They're just difficult to get on there because the internal diameter is so much smaller than the rest of this thing, and you just got to stretch them on. So they're both going to face with the open cup portion facing this way. Both of these. There's going to be one that goes here and one that goes here. Just take a pick, the J one, and just freaking stretch this thing on, man. They can stretch pretty far. So like I used to be really gentle with these, and it would take me forever to install these because I was afraid they're going to rip. But they're not going to rip. If they do, maybe it's a faulty one or something. I take no liability if your seal rips. But yeah, we'll just kind of walk it on here. And you can lubricate it too with brake fluid if you want. If that helps it out a little bit. But you can usually do it. You do it dry, the way we're doing it right now. And I'm not yanking super hard. Like don't take what I said too literally. You know, if you really yank on this thing, it probably will break. But we're just kind of slowly walking it down. You can probably maybe spin it down this corkscrew thing. All right, there we have it. That one is in place, not too bad. I'm telling you, if you don't have the right tools, getting these things on, they used to just take me forever. And then here's the one with the even smaller opening. Same thing, place it this way. Watch you don't jab yourself either. Okay. And then just, you know, have a close look at it, make sure that it's not rolled or anything. This looks good. Now I've got my .4 brake fluid. If you're doing a different master cylinder, just make sure that you're using the correct brake fluid, whatever it calls for. Usually you can read right on top of the cover what kind of brake fluid that you need. You can see right here it says use only .4 brake fluid. So it's idiot proof, but you know, people still do it. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of this and lubricate the new seals with our brake fluid. I'm going to do the same on our master cylinder, just kind of get some brake fluid in there. You don't need much, it's just for lubrication. Oh, and this one last seal is going to go on top and clip in right here. This is one that you want to make sure is sealed correctly because these like to flop and go in the wrong way and they're not completely sealed. Now what I'm going to do is turn this inside out just for the moment. And we're going to put our spring on. It kind of like clips on. That, and we'll slide this in the master cylinder. Next we've got this clip. We're going to slide it over the boot. Just be gentle with this, you don't want to rip the boot. Alright, now this next part can be kind of tricky. So what we're going to be doing is depressing this against the pressure of the spring, and then we'll be clipping the snap ring in there. So sometimes the tool doesn't want to fit in there. It can be really difficult to do. Just take your time and you'll eventually get it in there. That's what she said. I think I've got it for the most part. And then we'll just take a flathead and push against it. Make sure it's seated all the way in the groove. You don't want this thing popping out later down the road. Now we just got to take this boot and turn it back inside out. I'm going to put a little bit of brake fluid on the outside of it for lubricant. And we'll just push this in here. There it is, and then just go around gently with a flathead and make sure that the seal is seated. Now we've got this little plastic window that's going to go right inside right here. Just go ahead and get that in place. Make sure it's sitting flat and it's got a little like clip around it. I'm going to take a 10mm socket, which is about the same circumference, and just push it in place. There we go. Now for the fun part, let's do our inspection window. Now a lot of people ask me how to remove the old sight glass. Unfortunately, I've already removed the old one, but we're in luck because I've got this master cylinder. This is actually from the 2003 Banshee that I built the 421 Wildcat out of. That one got the older style master cylinder because I wanted it to be representative of that era, 1992. Anyways, check this thing out, man. This thing is freaking nasty, dude. If you guys watch that series, dude, that quad was in horrible shape. You got to check it out if you haven't seen it. It's almost as bad as the ASPCA Raptor, maybe even worse. So let's get this thing in the chuck and pop out the sight glass. So the master cylinder is chucked up. I cannot stress enough, this does not need to be super tight. You'll crush the damn thing. And then you'll be mad at me because I said do this. Anyways, we're going to be using basic stuff here, man. We've got just regular old, these are M6 Allen head bolts, These things work perfect because you can get them in various lengths. So almost any master cylinder, you can do the same trick. So I've got 2 different lengths here. Usually you have to utilize 2 sizes. You'll see why in a second. And it's really easy, man. We're gonna put this in here, and this is going to press up against the inside of our glass. And then we're gonna use a flathead screwdriver, pry right against the body of the master cylinder, and it's gonna push that window right out. All right, here we go. Let's get our bolt in here. I don't typically use pliers. I'm doing that because if I use my fingers, it's gonna block everything. So I'm gonna hold it with these pliers here. We've got the flathead screwdriver behind it, and we're just gonna pry gently against the master cylinder case. Just gently pushing. Man, this is a tight one. That's what she said. Up there, you can see it bulging out, man. It is. There it goes. We got it. Boom. All right, and we're not done just yet. Now, if you look closely in here, there's actually a ring. It's like a stainless steel ring in here, and a lot of times you can't even see the seam, but there's actually like a sleeve around here, and if you don't take that out, you can't press the new one in, and behind that is the O-ring. You can take the O-ring out, and the first time I tried to do one of these, I thought I was doing something wrong. I got the wrong size because it wouldn't fit in. It's because I didn't get this little retainer out. So you can just pry that out with a flathead very gently. They're usually not very tight. You can see it comes out like that. Just nice and easy. And there's your ring. As you're doing that, you don't want to be pushing in this direction too hard because you'll score the inside of this. And we've got the O-ring in here. Just dig this out with a pick. And there you have it. It's removed. No problem. All right, now let's get our new sight glass in place. Got the vise. I'm going to tape this off because this is a nice new one. We don't want to mar this up. The other one, it was like, who really cares? So I'm just going to put 2 pieces of frog tape on there. It's just green painter's tape. And the first thing we'll do is take our O-ring. And it is a good idea to put a little bit of brake fluid on that before you put it in there. Just push that in place, make sure it's nice and seated. Now before you get started, you want to note the little openings in here. If you're like real particular about how they're oriented, you're going to make sure you get that in the right orientation before you start pressing this in. And now we'll place this in the vise and just very gently compress it. You go nice and easy. If it's not going in straight, stop, reposition it. That seems to have worked quite well. If you look at the back end, you can see that the O-ring is squished. So it's bottomed out. That turned out really nice. So there it is, man. That definitely completes the brand new look on this master cylinder. Now, if you don't have a bench vise, you can still do this at home. You get a socket that's got about the same outside diameter or even a little bit larger, and just, you know, put this up against a nice flat surface and tap it into place. It's not going to be as easy. It might take a couple shots before you get it nice and even. And don't smack the hammer super hard, because I've seen people do that and they ruin the new piece and they got to start all over again. But it can be done without the bench vise. Now I'll put our lever on. I put a small amount of grease on this bolt. This is a brand new lever from Rocky Mountain ATV. It's a tusk lever. And this just gets snugged. We've got a locking nut that goes on the other side. Make sure to check the action so it's not too tight. This one feels really good. Then we've got our brake light. This just clips in place. And our new banjo bolt. I'm just going to go ahead and throw our crush washers on there and thread this in place for later. Then we've got our bladder. This goes up top. You want to make sure that's nice and clean. And then we have our reservoir cover. But before we put this on, I want to do one thing to it. Now, it almost pains me to do this because this vapor blasting looks so good. But what we're going to do is polish down the sides, make them nice and shiny, and then we'll give a brushed finish on the top. I've already gone ahead and sanded down the edges, which is kind of necessary to get a nice shiny polish on here. So let's go ahead. I think the results will be worth it. I think the best way to get a nice smooth finish on top will be using the surfacing board. And that came out better than I thought it would. It looks really nice. So let's go ahead, pop this cap on, see what it's gonna look like. All finished. The Boss bearing kit does come with brand new screws, but we're gonna upgrade to these stainless steel Allen heads because the Phillips head screws, there's a reason that they give you replacement ones with the kits. It's because the tops typically strip out. Like I just don't know why they use them. So this will be a nice little upgrade here. There it is, man. Completely restored. This thing looks brand spanking new. This is the original equipment, man. Really came out awesome. I'm really happy with that. I wanted to stop to take a minute to thank you for making it this far into the video. I also wanted to stop to thank the companies and sponsors that are helping to make this Project Blaster possible. Thank you to Bonehead Performance Coatings, Kenda Tire, Rocky Mountain ATV, Hermosi Throttles, Rocket Ron Suspension, DRW Performance, Moto Blast, Zoom Zoom Parts, Power Sports Nation, and Vito's Performance Products. These are all companies that I trust, and most of them I use on a regular basis. Any applicable promo codes and links to their websites will be in the description below. If you're enjoying the video so far and looking for a way to help out, giving the video a thumbs up, leaving a comment below, or subscribing to the channel all help out a ton. Products and tools in the video are listed in the description below, and purchasing from those links does help me out a lot. I get a small kickback from that, and there's no extra cost to you. And if you're looking to support the channel even further, there is the option to join. All channel members get guaranteed responses to their YouTube comments. All right, guys, I am done talking. Let's get back to the video. Enough of fixing parts. Let's check out what we all came here for, the vapor blasted parts. Just look at this stuff, man. This is crazy. These are all the original parts, man. Look at these cases. Look at this side cover, man. This is the most impressive of all. That's where it was all messed up at the top. You can see it just looks like kind of nicked up now. Really good results. The carburetor. This is literally the original carburetor from my 1990 Yamaha Banshee. Thing looks brand new. Silencer. I did find those grommets, the rubber kind of like damping grommets. But this thing looks brand new, dude. I could never clean it like this at home. The texture is really, really nice and even. It looks awesome. All of these, man, if you look inside these cases, stuff is brand spanking new. It was super disgusting in there. All nice and clean. Here's the case repair. It looks a lot nicer now that it has an even texture. I mean, you can still see it's there, but nice repair. I'll show you the inside. Really, really looks good. We've got our rear caliper. Gonna rebuild this. And the thumb throttle looks so good. And I kept this out here. This wasn't, well, he probably vapor blasted this also, but he coated it in black zinc, but just because it's part of the thumb throttle. He's able to do that and leave the rubber portion on there. Did a really good job. And then of course, our front master cylinder that we just got done with. Now all this stuff was done by James at Moto Blast. If you guys are interested in having your parts vapor blasted, I definitely recommend hitting him up. He is one of the best in the game. If you've had stuff vapor blasted by multiple companies, you might notice there's different finishes and different levels of quality. I'm confident in saying that James is top of the line. Highly recommend him. You can reach him at njvaporblast.com. Let him know I sent you. Now we've still got the zinc coated stuff from Moto Blast to go over, but before we do that, I want to show you guys how all the stuff came from Bonehead Performance. Obviously, we've got the frame in there, we've got the wheels over here, and then we've got 2 boxes of parts. And the reason I wanted to show you this is just to show like the level of care that they put into their stuff. Now, I'm picking this stuff up. It's not even being shipped, and they want to make sure that everything, you know, gets to where it's going in perfect condition. So they've got everything wrapped, all this bubble wrap and stuff like that. You can see, so that nothing gets scratched or chipped up. Everything is wrapped in paper. And the rims, they wrap the edges in saran wrap, which is really nice of them. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm dying to see what this frame looks like all unwrapped and under the lights. Let's take a look at it. Man, this is absolutely like Christmas. This might as well not even be the same frame. It went out looking like crap, and now it looks like brand new. Wow, dude. This color freaking pops. I couldn't help it. I had to throw the bumper on and the swing arm just kind of mocked up so that you guys could see the contrast of the colors. Man, this stuff looks awesome. I mean, just look at these colors, dude. It came out so cool. This is Illusion Gold from Bonehead Performance. It's actually not the color that I picked. I think the original one was called Gold Glitz. It was a little bit darker and it had a metal flake in it. And it was really nice, but there was like a 3-week wait just on the color alone. And I mean, this color, it was like a really close second. And now that I see it in person, I think I might like this even more. Now back here you can see, I can't remember the color. It's like a gunmetal color. It'll have a really nice contrast with the gold frame. It just looks so freaking good. And then right here, you can see they did their trademark. It's kind of hard to see with the gloss, but they mask off the VIN number because if you powder over the VIN number, they put clear over it. It's primed, base coat, and then I think Illusion is like a few layers, and then they put a clear coat over top. But when they do the base layers, they mask off the VIN so that you can actually read it, which is really nice. I also brought the pegs up here because I like to get these coated in that texture, that mini texture. I just wanted to show you guys. It's just a really nice coating for anything that like you need grip. Same thing with the bumper. This is just barely hanging by that one bolt there, but it just gives it, it's really nice texture for something to grab onto. And then I've got all these parts just laying out. Got the heel guards here, my steering stem, all that stuff. Our carrier I did in the same Illusion Gold, as well as the spring. And then these front hubs, they're actually powder coated in a silver to protect that aluminum, but everything looks awesome. Guys, I've been using Bonehead Performance for years now, and they do specialized work. It's not a large factory where you're gonna have giant projects with 500 to 1,000 pieces going through and they're just slapping on powder coat. These guys take a lot of care and a lot of pride in what they do. And it's gonna set your parts apart from the crowd, especially with the custom colors that they offer and the attention to detail. If you're looking to get your parts powder coated, check them out at boneheadperformance.com or give them a call and make sure to let them know that I sent you. Now we're gonna have all the zinc parts. We'll do the zinc spread in a moment here. That's like one of my favorite things to do. I really like to see like all new parts laid out, especially refinished parts. I just think it looks so cool. But this, I feel like we have to do this. We're kind of cheating here. We're getting a glimpse into the future. I'm just gonna put the rear fenders on, the seat, and we can hold the graphics up and just see what it's gonna look like. I'm really curious to see what this color scheme is gonna look like. Plastics are looking good. We'll put the seat in place. Now the tan on the seat and the gold on the frame don't match quite perfectly, but I don't think they clash. The graphics aren't gonna match perfectly either, but when there's multiple shades of a certain color, that usually just makes things work. That's kind of what I was hoping for here. And there you go, man. These are the blaster graphics, dude. So these are from 725 Designs. I designed the graphics and he prints them. Super professional and really, really quick. He got these out here super, super fast. Seems like really good vinyl and stuff. I can't speak for him just yet because we haven't tested them out. But as far as appearance goes, and they feel like they're very good quality. The dude's got a really good reputation. I'm pretty confident in recommending him, and he was just a really good dude over the phone. You could tell he does good business. It's 725 Designs if you guys want to check him out. And hopefully we'll be getting more graphics done by him. So again, you can definitely see the colors are not quite a perfect match, but I think when everything's together, it's gonna flow together nicely. That's probably one of the hardest parts when it comes to design, at least for me, because I'm not like going into a store and picking the colors, except with Bonehead I am, but that's the only one. And then all these other ones, these are all on the screen. I couldn't really find like a gold seat anyways. I'm sure somebody makes it. That would have been really cool, but the tan, I think it will all flow once it all goes together. Usually once everything, like I said before, like with different shades and stuff, once it's together, I think it's gonna flow nicely. I'm not too worried about it. So, and then especially like the sticker backing on there and stuff, like it's kind of hard to tell, but it does give you an idea like sort of what the design's gonna look like. Yet again, several hours wasted arranging bolts. But it looks freaking sweet, man. Check this out. Boom. I don't know why, I just think this is so cool. All of these bolts, we've got black zinc on the left, yellow zinc on the right. I just get a kick out of the yellow zinc. I think it makes it look, yellow zinc just screams new. Especially look at these hubs, man. It's like the type of coating that you don't see on a DIY at home kind of thing. It's really professional. I mean, you do need a special, setup to do this. Luckily, I've found Moto Blast, and man, the guy just does a great job. All of these bolts look so good. When we put this quad together, man, with all these fresh bolts and stuff, it's just gonna look awesome. I can't wait. The contrast of the bolts to the powder coat and stuff, all that stuff to me, I just get so excited, and I'm super excited to share the experience with you guys. We're gonna be building this thing really soon. I'm ready to start right now. I really am. So again, guys, the zinc coating was done by Moto Blast. If you guys are looking to get any of your stuff zinc coated, he is the go-to guy, man. You just send him a bag of your old rusty bolts, and they come back looking like brand new. It's unbelievable. Again, njvaporblast.com. Hit them up, let them know I sent you. As for the powder coating, that is boneheadperformance.com. Those guys are awesome as well. I really can't do these projects without these guys. I'm super thankful, and just really lucky to have these companies that back me, and they just enable me to make these awesome machines and share it with you guys. So I appreciate you guys coming in today and doing some work with me. We've got quite a bit of pre-work to do still. I've got to load my bearings in the cases. We've got some like the swing arm, all that stuff. I got to mount up the tires. You guys know I love mounting tires. And just some odds and ends and stuff like that. That stuff I will be doing off camera, so that when I see you guys next, when it comes to the blaster, we will be doing assembly. So if you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys in the next video. The Lakota video part 2 is coming soon. I was waiting for jets, so I just moved into this video, but the jets did come in the mail, so we're gonna be doing that. And I'm also heading to Indiana in 2 days to go meet up with the brewers, hopefully do some ripping out there, and I might be coming back with a couple machines. I don't know, could be, maybe not. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.